This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Friday, the 5th day of June in the year 2020. I'm Gordon Mosley. Here is what we're tracking tonight. The recount of votes is heading into the home stretch, and the Guyana Elections Commission is expected to make a decision tomorrow on the more than 21 ballot boxes that were opened and found to contain none of the statutory documents that should have been in them from the east coast of the Marara. Most of the boxes are from the Montrose, Le Bon Intention, and Chateau Margaux communities. Box after box, the counting agents were forced to remark that a recount of votes could not be validated because of the absence of statutory documents. Those missing statutory documents include marked lists, folios, spoiled ballots, damaged ballots, and proxies. In some cases, there were oaths of identity signed for voters, but the information was not recorded in the poll books. For those recounts, the PPP did not sign on to the observation report. Based on at least 21 of the boxes in which statutory documents could not be located, the PPP had over 4,500 votes, while the APNU-AFC gained just over 700 votes. At a press conference today, APNU-AFC executive member and candidate Joe Harmon said the Elections Commission must address what he called the clear cases of fraud.
It was our responsibility as a stakeholder in this process to put to the Commission all of the defects that we have seen amounting to what we deem to be electoral fraud. And so there are many of them. But as I say yesterday in my press statement, that in the Commission itself, the PPP commissioners were filibustering. They were trying to prevent the Commission from meeting to deliberate on these matters.
Mr. Harmon also expressed worry about the votes that have not been validated still being sent to the tabulation center.
And these are not just allegations that we have made. These are matters which have been extracted from GECOM's own records. So after the statement of recount they have been produced and the observation report is produced, these are concerns which have been listed on those documents which GECOM owns. So they have an obligation to respond to them.
And the People's Progressive Party Civic today dismissed the APNU-AFC concerns. The party's General Secretary Bharat Jagdeo said his party remains confident that it will emerge victorious at the elections. He accused the APNU-AFC of clutching at straws in an effort to challenge the credibility of the process.
But we're not getting into that because the last thing I want to do, and that's what they want to suck us into, is to run behind every one of these spurious arguments, because then we lose sight of the big fraud, which is the Mingo's fraud and the PPP victory.
In a statement late this afternoon, the public relations officer at GECOM, Yolanda Ward, said once a statement of recount is produced, it is forwarded to be tabulated. She noted, however, that there are some objections to those boxes being included in the tabulation at this point in time. Ms. Ward said the Elections Commission will meet tomorrow to determine the way forward, and the decision will be made known to the public. More news coming up in just a moment.
We all want to stay in touch, right? Now, even more than ever before. So to keep your connection strong, GTT is going 2 for 2. Combine GTT mobile and home internet services and we'll give you 2 gigs of free mobile data each month. With 2 GTT services, you're fully connected at home and on the go. Visit us online at gtt.co.gy/2for2 to learn more and start doing more with 2 for 2 from GTT. Stay safe, stay strong, Guyana. We're in this together.
GBTI is your Guyanese bank, a bank that understands every customer's unique needs, opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. At GBTI, we see you for you. Whether you're buying a new home or car, planning your next vacation or retirement, saving for your child's future, or whether you're ready to take that bold step of investing in your dream business idea, we are with you every step of the way. We hear your stories and watch you focus on your dreams as we share your aspirations. We are more than just banking. We are a family. We are part of your community. Our commitment extends way beyond the walls of our branches and is demonstrated every day in the opportunities we provide to our individual and business customers. The support, time, and commitment we give back to communities across Guyana to help improve the lives of our Guyanese families. Because we see Guyana through your eyes. Parents and guardians, you are encouraged to tune in to the Guyana Learning Channel, Cable 29 or Channel 42 for daily educational and interactive learning sessions. The nursery program airs from 6 hours to 9 hours. Primary programs from 9 hours to 12 noon. We also air informative documentaries from 12 noon to 13 hours, and our secondary level programs are aired from 13 hours to 15 hours. Please continue to listen to our radio broadcasts. The interactive radio instruction for grades 1 to 3 daily on Voice of Guyana from 9 hours 30 to 10 hours for grade 1 pupils, from 10 hours 30 to 11 hours for grade 2s, and 13 hours to 13 hours 30 for grade 3 pupils. Please remember to tune in to benefit from these educational opportunities. A message from the Ministry of Education.
We can reduce the risk of contracting viruses by strengthening our immune system, and one way of doing this is by eating as healthily as possible to support optimal immune function. Micronutrients essential to fight infection include vitamins A, B, C, D, and E, and the minerals iron, selenium, and zinc. Here's what we need to know about the foods we can eat to get them. Vitamin A is found in fish, egg yolks, cheese, nuts, seeds, whole grains, and beans. Vitamin B9 folate is abundant in green leafy vegetables, beans, nuts, and seeds, and it's also added to a lot of the flour that we use in Guyana. Vitamin B12 is found in animal products including eggs, meat, and dairy, and also in some fortified milk. Vitamin C and vitamin E helps to protect our body when we're fighting an infection. Good sources of vitamin C include oranges, lemons, limes, tomatoes, and cherries. In Guyana, one of our cherry has the amount of vitamin C needed for the entire day for a person. Vitamin E is found in nuts, green leafy vegetables, and vegetable oils. Although sun exposure allows the body to produce vitamin D, food sources including eggs, fish, and some milk and margarine brands may be fortified with vitamin D, meaning some extra has been added. Most people need just a few minutes outdoors most days to get enough of the vitamin D needed. And beyond diet, there are other measures you can take to stay as healthy as possible. No smoking, reduce the intake of alcohol or none at all, exercise every day, and sleep and rest well. And please remember to reduce your intake of sweetened and carbonated beverages and drink lots and lots of water.
Welcome back. And turning now to the education sector, the Ministry of Education is moving ahead with its plans for the sitting of the National Grade 6 Assessment Examinations on the 1st and 2nd of July. Over 14,000 students are set to write the 4 exams over the course of the 2 days. With some parents still concerned about safety measures in wake of the coronavirus pandemic, the Education Ministry said it cannot and will not force parents to have their children sit the exams if they do not want their children to do so at this time. Chief Education Officer Ingrid Trotman explained today that in the case of those students who do not turn up for the exams, they will be placed in the closest secondary school to their home in the new school year and will be allowed to write a placement exam for a higher level school in July of next year. They will not be placed at a grade A school.
If the parents opt not to have their children or child write this examination, there is nothing we can do to force them, first of all. However, in not doing so, they will be placed at the school closest to them. Now, if they are not satisfied or perhaps they are saying that they have any other questions about being placed at the school closest to them, there is what we call the placement examination, and that is done during the July month. And so they would be placed at the school closest to them, the secondary school closest to them, for a period of 1 month. And if they satisfy the criteria, they can be they can ask to write that exam, the placement exam, in the next year of July. And depending, I think they have to get over 70% in order to be placed at a school of a high level.
The Ministry of Education has gazetted the examination order for all of the national examinations. The order lists a number of systems that should be in place at schools which will be reopened for those students doing the examination from the 15th of June. The Education Ministry has announced that it will be providing every student with a kit which will contain sanitization products and face masks. Additionally, teachers will also be provided with a similar kit, which will also include face shields. All schools are to be equipped with sanitization areas for hand washing. The director of the National Center for Education Resource Development said a lot of planning was done in consultation with the Ministry of Public Health and other stakeholders before a decision was taken to set the exam date. She said for students writing the NGSA and the secondary school examinations, the ministry's priority was their safety.
The Ministry of Education has been constantly in all of this working together. We've all been working together, the various parts of the Ministry of Education, to get this right for our children. Over the past weeks, we have planned, and we have planned. We have adjusted our plans, and we have not worked alone. We have worked along with many of our stakeholders. We have worked very closely with the Ministry of Public Health, with UNICEF and PAHO, with CARPA, with CARICOM countries, with CARICOM, with the National COVID Task Force. We have also spoken with our Guyana Teachers Union.
Director of NSERT, Jennifer Cumberbatch. During the revision days leading up to the examinations, the protocols will be instituted with just 15 students being allowed in one classroom, and they must be 6 feet apart from each other at all times. Those revision sessions will only take place 3 days per week, and classes will be held for just 4 hours on those 3 days. The temperature of teachers and students will be checked before entering the classrooms for revision and for the exams. From next Monday, teachers are to report to duty to begin the preparation of the classrooms for the return of the students the following Monday. The education officials made it clear that they are taking all of the necessary precautions to ensure the children and teachers operate in a safe environment and will be working closely throughout the period with health officials. Well, despite the assurances provided by the Ministry of Education, the Guyana Teachers Union remains opposed to the reopening of schools at this time and the sitting of national examinations in July. The General Council of the GTU met today and agreed that the Ministry of Education is putting teachers and students at risk by reopening schools and moving ahead with the examinations. The GTU is advising its members to continue teaching their students virtually from the safety of their own homes. In its statement, the union said the school environment poses a threat to learners, teachers, other school staff, and families, adding that it must be noted that the provisions outlined in the gazetted order are inadequate, while not much consideration was given to the welfare of teachers who would have to be in direct contact with learners in the school environment. Under the order, schools are only to be reopened for students preparing for the examinations. More than 15 students will not be allowed in a classroom, and the revision sessions will only be for 3 days per week and for no more than 4 hours on each of those 3 days. GTU said it believes its recommendations were not considered. It wanted the CSEC examinations to be written in September, but the CSEC examinations fall under the Caribbean Examinations Council and is therefore an external examination. The Education Ministry revealed today that while Guyana and 3 other countries objected and voted against the CXC decision to have the exams in July and the format adjusted, the other 11 members of CXC agreed with the body's decision. Therefore, majority ruled. For the common entrance examinations, the GTU wanted those examinations to be written in October and students placed in their high schools from next January. The Education Ministry said that was considered, but it would have created a number of problems for both the primary and secondary schools. Still, the GTU maintains that it is not supportive of the decisions taken by the Education Ministry, and it remains mindful of the coronavirus in Guyana. Let's tell you now that the Organization of American States, which has been observing the recount of votes, has declared that it has no reason to doubt that the results emanating from the recount will be credible. In a statement last evening, the OAS said a declaration based on the results would lead to the installation of a legitimate government. The organization noted that it has arrived at that position despite some inconsistencies in the electoral materials reviewed during the recount, which it claims is normally the case in any electoral process. According to the OAS Electoral Observer Team, the review of the ballot boxes is being conducted in a professional, transparent, and impartial fashion, which allows members of the Guyana Elections Commission, political parties, and other stakeholders to accurately determine the results for each polling station. The organization, however, is still not happy that the Guyana Elections Commission has not given in to its request to be supplied with copies of the statements of poll from the elections, which would have been prepared on the night of the elections. GCOM has not provided those SOPs to any group. The OAS in its statement also said the people of Guyana have been patient and now deserve a peaceful transition of government based on the majority vote as reflected in the recount and in support of democracy and the rule of law. The statement from the OAS comes as the recount is still ongoing. The European Union Election Observer Mission to Guyana has completed its final report on its observation of the Guyana elections, leaving a total of 26 recommendations behind. The final report of the EU Observer Mission was released today. The EU said while the elections were competitive and contestants could campaign freely, the integrity of the entire electoral process was seriously compromised by the non-transparent and non-credible tabulation of results in the largest and decisive Region 4 by senior GCOM officials who acted in blatant violation of the law and High Court orders issued in that regard. Outside of that, the EU team said voting and counting were well managed all over the country, as was the tabulation of results in 9 of Guyana's 10 administrative regions. The body raised concern about the lack of electoral financing laws in Guyana and coverage of the elections by the state media. The EU also said there was a lack of transparency in the administration of the elections in Guyana. Of the 26 recommendations being put forward by the EU team, it wants priority to be given to the review and consolidation of the fragmented electoral legislation. It also wants to see the launch of a consultation process to overhaul the composition and functioning of the Elections Commission. Additionally, the EU Observer Group believes there should be the development of effective legislation to regulate political financing, the fostering of transparency and accountability in online and offline campaigning, the transformation of the state-owned media into a genuine public service broadcaster, and the adoption of clear written procedures for transmission and tabulation of election results. It is also recommending that any declaration of results should be accompanied by simultaneous publication of detailed polling station results and the digital copies of all statements of poll, while there should also be the establishment of a comprehensive election dispute resolution system. The EU team started its election observation in Guyana back in January, and that continued until the 20th of March. A total of 55 observers from the EU observed the electoral process in the country. It was the first full-fledged election observer team from the EU in Guyana. The first repatriation flight of Guyanese nationals stranded abroad is expected to arrive in Guyana on Saturday night from the United States. However, several of the persons who were listed to be on that first flight will be unable to make it because they were unable to have a coronavirus test completed and submitted to the authorities before the flight. Public Infrastructure Minister David Patterson today said once the persons get a test done and submit the negative results to the Foreign Affairs Ministry, they will be accommodated on future flights. Minister Patterson explained that no more than 2 flights will be accommodated per week, and the Guyanese nationals should ensure they follow all of the requirements for the flights. The flights are chartered flights, and persons seeking to return home will have to stand their own costs. Once they test negative for the coronavirus, they will be allowed to come home. Upon their arrival, additional screenings will be done at the airport, and once cleared, they will be allowed to go home, but will be required to home quarantine for 7 days. There are over 500 Guyanese nationals who have indicated an interest to return home after being stranded out of Guyana because of the coronavirus. The Guyana Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the various Guyana missions abroad have been putting systems in place for the repatriation of citizens. Persons can visit the Ministry of Foreign Affairs website for more details and to complete the application form for their repatriation. Some good news to report now. For a fifth straight day, Guyana has recorded no new cases of the coronavirus. This is the longest period that the country has gone without a new case since the first set of cases back in March. Deputy Chief Medical Officer Dr. Karen Gordon-Boyle revealed today that 32 tests were conducted over the past 24 hours, and they all came back negative. She said there is no time now for complacency, even as the flattening of the curve may have started.
My fellow Guyanese, I wish to remind you that even though there has been no new case over the past 5 days, we cannot become complacent. If we keep this up, following all guidelines, we will be on our way to limiting transmission and flattening the curve, making the return to normalcy sooner than later. I exhort you, therefore, to do the appropriate thing and let us together defy the coronavirus disease. I wish to give a shout of bravado and kudos to the Rapid Response, Mobile Unit and Surveillance teams and the staff at the National Reference Laboratory, whose coordinated efforts are allowing us to track, diagnose and manage patients in an efficient manner.
Dr. Gordon-Boyle said it is still very important at this stage for all the health guidelines in relation to the coronavirus to be followed. She said concerns remain about the rising number of cases in the bordering countries. Public health officials are especially worried about the situation in Brazil and Venezuela. In Region 7, residents are being urged to be extra vigilant, especially miners, since all of the cases from that community is from the mining areas. Across the region is coming up next.
Wondering how you can access free learning materials for your children? Parents and guardians, please visit the Ministry of Education's website at www.education.gov.gy to access textbooks, past papers, and practice tests to keep your child engaged in continuous learning. When you have accessed the site, go to the Students tab, wait for a second, and choose the appropriate option. You now have access to the resources you need. You are encouraged to take advantage of this opportunity as we strive to provide the best education for the nation's children. A message from the Ministry of Education.
They've made a positive impact on the heavy-duty transportation industry in Guyana since they've arrived. Guyanese are amazed at their power, durability, efficiency, and superior handling capabilities. These are brand new trucks, manufactured in partnership with German, Italian, and French companies. They have a powerful reputation for operating under very adverse Guyanese conditions and come with full after-sales service and spare parts. They're the most sought-after trucks today, with over 500 units in Guyana, and they're available in over 100 countries, including South America and the Caribbean. Be smart. Buy brand new ST Howo trucks today. Call 608-4998 and arrange for an inspection at ST Truck Guyana Incorporated, Block B, Public Road, Coven and East Bank, Demerara.
We are legions of men standing strong, but never too proud to stoop and help someone. We must send a clear signal to all. Do right. Walk in upright ways, knowing that's what being a man is all about. And ever aware that things will only get worse when good men do nothing. Stand strong. Be the one to live right.
Anyone who believes he or she was exposed to coronavirus COVID-19 must stay at home and not mix with other family members. This quarantine is to help stop the spread of the virus at home and in our communities. While at home for 14 days or 2 weeks, here are some valuable tips you must follow. First, get a separate room which family members will not be allowed to enter during those 14 days of quarantine. Ensure this room allows you to get lots of fresh air. Second, if you must meet family members, stay at least 1 meter or 3 feet away from them. Third, when it comes to personal hygiene, other members of the household should use a separate bathroom. If you must share a bathroom, ensure you always clean the taps, doorknobs, and all utensils with soap and running water. Fourth, limit the number of visitors to your home. Anyone in quarantine must not meet and greet any visitor. Fifth, practice frequent hand washing with soap and running water. Wash your hands for at least 20 seconds every time. If there are no soap and running water, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with at least 75% alcohol. Sixth, always avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth with unwashed hands. Seventh, after using face masks or gloves, always throw them away. Put them in bins with covers. Remember also to always use separate plates, drinking glasses, cups, and other eating utensils, towels, bedding, and other items for the family member who is in quarantine. And don't forget to use detergents every time to wash all utensils, bed linen, and clothes used by the person in quarantine. Please remember to use the thermometer, not the back of your hands, to monitor the body temperature of the quarantined family member. Monitor them 2 times every day. Be sure to write down the temperature. If he or she develops a fever or temperature above 37.5 degrees Celsius or 99.5 degrees Fahrenheit, cough or has difficulty breathing, sore throat, body aches and pain, immediately call the COVID-19 hotline by dialing 180 or 181. Protect yourself and others. Play your part in helping to reduce the risk of contracting or spreading COVID-19. This is a message from the Ministry of Public Health in collaboration with PAHO WHO. For more information, kindly visit the Ministry's website www.health.gov.gy or its Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter pages.
Across the region right now, the Chief Executive Officer of Regional Carrier Liat, Julie Rafa-Jones, says the airline's commercial passenger services will remain suspended until the end of June due to the continued impact of the novel coronavirus pandemic. According to the CEO, most of Liat's network remains closed to commercial passenger traffic. She said that while some territories have announced a reopening date, there are still many protocols to be implemented, such as testing and mandatory quarantine periods, which will allow for the safe movement of passengers. The airline's CEO said the situation is being closely monitored across the Liat network, and flights will resume when it is safe for passengers to do so. Passengers booked during the extended period of suspension will automatically have their bookings cancelled and will receive full airline credit for future travel. In the Bahamas, an online petition calling for the cancellation of national exams there has garnered more than 5,000 signatures in less than 12 hours. The Change.org petition was launched after an announcement by the Prime Minister, Dr. Hubert Minnis, that delayed exams will be held from the 13th of July. Minnis made the announcement during a Ministry of Health press conference yesterday. The petition stated that due to the coronavirus pandemic in the Bahamas, many students who do not have the privilege of access to electronic devices resulted in them not being allowed to virtual education platforms. The Bahamas Union of Teachers has acknowledged concerns over the announcement of the examination dates. And finally tonight, international news. People over 60 or with health issues should wear a medical grade mask when they are out in public and cannot socially distance, according to new guidance from the World Health Organization, while all others should wear a 3-layer fabric mask. The announcement today from the World Health Organization marks a significant change of stance by the organization, which until now has been reluctant to advocate the wearing of masks by the public because of limited evidence that they offer protection. The health body's new guidance document says that the over 60s and people with underlying health conditions should wear medical masks in settings where physical distancing cannot be achieved because of increased risk of infection and/or negative outcomes. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight and this week. I'm Gordon Mosley, reporting. Stay safe